something that it's harder maybe for men, maybe not only men, but it's vulnerability. And there's so much to um, the power of vulnerability because it's unsettled, it unseats us, and we're not so much in control when we're letting ourselves be vulnerable. But vulnerability is the doorway to the unknown because you're entering sort of this like, I don't know what I'm opening to when I relax fully, when I let go, really. So, so you're going through a passageway of being vulnerable, being sort of vulnerable to the experience, right? That's my dog. It's okay. Um, so, so I would say that what ties everything together is making friends with vulnerability because when we're vulnerable, we're more transparent. And being transparent, things can pass through us more easily. It's the opposite of what we ordinarily think is that we have to protect ourselves and have, you know, always be boundaried. And boundaries are good, but but there's something that gets stopped when we are putting up a shield to meeting another and a shield to ourselves of accessing deeper places inside of us, more empty places where potentiality lives, mystery lives. So vulnerability is a power, and it's kind of the antithesis of what we've been trained to believe, especially as for men. I think that being vulnerable is a sign of weakness. You open your guard up, you can be attacked. I mean, there's a lot to all of that, but there's a place and time to really work on letting go defenses. That's what vulnerability is letting go of defenses and opening to soul. That's how that takes place.
I'd almost kind of like, it feels like kind of putting your shoulders back and your heart first to be
Yeah, I like
vulnerable.
that.
Um,
Yeah, yeah, shoulders back.
yeah,
Because what happens when we're feeling protective is our shoulders go forward and we're protecting our
yeah,
hearts, right? You can see people over time just collapse, right? And it's because there's a a fear of being so vulnerable, right? So when we open to the sensation of what vulnerability is, we're becoming masterful of the fact that we're not really in an insecure place when we're vulnerable. It's just a sensation, it's just a feeling.
and it makes me think it's kind of like the end goal of the mastery process, where you go from unconscious incompetence and you move through the stages to the end goal, which is you want to be competent in yourself in whatever game or situation, your daily flow, and you want to be able to do it unconsciously. And so if you're doing something and you've gotten to your sense of self and you've like worked through, there's a lot that we've uncovered just in this one podcast together, which is a fraction of what covers in a lifetime of self-awareness and just listening to yourself, right? Your journey. It's almost like we're constantly kind of integrating new concepts and new pointers and new experiences to then slowly kind of finish with the vulnerability of, hey, just get on stage and just give it a go. Um,
Yeah.
get into life, if you will, right? Like as a soul, just show up and get into life. And I mean, it ends in a
Mhm.
very vulnerable position. right? The ending is vulnerable. It's the like
It
death
is.
is absolute vulnerability.
It's a portal to magic happening. I mean, you can tell that when people are being themselves and vulnerable, but also have mastery, that that's the magical ingredient that makes people really pay attention, because it because one can resonate, one can feel connected. We connect in vulnerability. We can connect in mastery in a way, but we're all masters in different ways. But vulnerability, that's something we all know. And being vulnerable and undefended, which is another word for it, and really being authentic, that's the way to be authentic. You can't get to authenticity without entering vulnerability. But guess what? That has a vibration and an energy signature that is um, so needed and welcomed and desired in the world. And people pay attention because guess what it does? It invites them to be able to be themselves as well. So we're then modeling something, and then one can meet and connect in a way that is just less protected and defended, because that's not a wonderful way to meet.
No, it sounds more like a child-like way to meet. It sounds like people who are at home, like how we mentioned it, we started the feeling of yourself when you're around your friends, around your family. And you wouldn't want
Mhm.
to embrace somebody who's got a sword drawn and their shield up.
Yeah. You can see, you can totally feel it. You probably feel more at home with the people who feel more at home, because they're vibrating that, because we're all sending energy signatures, little radio waves. We really are.
Yeah.
And if we're more at home and saying it's safe being here at home, it our animal nature responds and says that, oh, this is safe
Hmm.
to be myself. I can be myself more. And there's sort of a relaxation. And then there's this opening that naturally happens to to including more of what we are, versus this bound up self that only goes this far. Then we get to open to the more unbounded kind of self that's vaster, vaster. And there's more access to intelligence when it's more opened up.
And when I kind of imagine how this feels, I've had moments of these kind of experiences, and I have a part of my mind that always wants to kind of granularize where's the, how does that pattern feel and look and sense. But my experience with these kind of high moments where your absolute mastery is at an all-time high, but
Mm,
you've like eloquently said it, your vulnerability is equally just like at an all-time high. So it's like mastery meets vulnerability means mastery meets authenticity. It it's almost like you can't even label where your mind or sense of self is in that type of space, because it's almost like you're breathing across the dimensions of yourself, and you're almost, I think, turned
yeah.
on a different configuration of your brain, as if your neural
Uh-huh.
pathways are lighting up in a different way, where you're no
Hmm.
longer in the subjective, here I am, I'm looking at myself, oh my gosh, what am I going to say next? Or like pre-planning. You're in an absolute state of the mastery of knowing and being here now, while simultaneously being vulnerable.
Oh, beautiful. That's wonderful. Yeah, I think you nailed it. It's like expanded awareness. So awareness of your is expanded, and Einstein would point to that as being his source of creativity, is the mystery. He said that, it's that's what his source of his brilliance came from. So then you're expanding, awareness and consciousness is expanding into what's more possible, beyond the known.